You've made a huge mistake. You'll be fired. Don't ever come back to this company.
He shouted at me and left the room. So, I'm getting fired, huh? I've contributed significantly to the company without any major mistakes. But it seems I need to start job hunting. However, 2 days after that, my phone suddenly rings.
Thank goodness, David, you picked up. Can you come back to the office right away?
On arriving at the office, the scene I saw was, my name is David Smith. I have a calm wife and a lively 8-year-old son, making us a family of 3. I work at a subsidiary of a major food manufacturer, handling food orders and dispatches. Managing the inventory for both restaurant supplies and retail products is quite challenging. It's a meticulous job, but I've managed it smoothly without major errors. However, there's one troublesome person at work.
Hey, David, you were supposed to finish this report by today, right?
It was Manager John, my boss, who yelled at me. He's younger than me, in his 40s, but my superior. John, the son of a department head at the parent food manufacturing company, always orders me with arrogance. Moreover, he always thinks he's right, but is quite incompetent at his job. He was appointed as the department head just 2 weeks ago, but seems to have taken a dislike to me, dumping extra work on me every day.
After you finish that, start on this report too. Hurry up.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Take the initiative before your boss has to tell you. You're really clueless.
John threw a stack of papers on my desk and left the room. As I started gathering the scattered papers, I overheard my colleagues whispering. I didn't mean to listen, but being in the same room, I couldn't help it.
John is always so hard on David.
David's work is meticulous and error-free. I wonder why.
But David seems out of it. At his age, still no title? Maybe he's not interested in climbing the corporate ladder.
Yea, with his attitude, it seems hard for him to advance. He just smiles off when John yells at him.
While hearing my colleagues chuckling, I sighed. Well, just say whatever you like. I'm just doing my job my way. While thinking that doing my rule is my way, I continued working on the tasks assigned by John. However, one day, as I was working as usual, my colleague suddenly started panicking. She was sweating and repeatedly apologizing while on the phone. I wondered what was happening, and as she hung up, she came towards me.
David, what's this about?
Me. She handed me a note. It was a complaint from a major client. What's this about?
We ordered 50 regular items for business use and 500 items for home use as samples, but only the 50 business items arrived. We were supposed to distribute the home items to customers at an event in 3 days. They were quite angry.
That can't be right. I've never made such a mistake before, and I was sure I had checked everything. This time, I couldn't understand why this was happening, and I started to panic. I handle orders for 2 types of products, those for business use and those for home use. The large packs for business and the smaller packs for home use have the same name, making them easy to confuse. It's a mistake-prone area, so I always paid extra attention, double-checking everything. But now, a complaint has come in. I immediately switched gears and opened my computer to check the order form. The form showed an order for 50 items for business use. That's odd. I'm certain I ordered 500 items for home use too. I couldn't believe my eyes, and I felt a chill run through me. Then, the next moment, John's loud voice echoed throughout the room.
What a mistake you've made. You useless, incompetent.
But I'm sure I ordered 500 items for home use.
Quiet. The fact is you only ordered the items for business use. Instead of making excuses, do whatever it takes to gather 500 items for home use.
John pushed me back to my desk and stormed out of the room in anger. My colleagues looked on worriedly at the exchange between John and me, but none offered to help. Anyway, I have to somehow gather the items for home use. I immediately returned to my desk and started calling the branches. Sorry for the sudden call. If you have any spare items for home use, could you send them over? Please, I'm begging you. Thank you so much. I'll definitely repay this favor. 241 items left. Only 3 days until the event our client was participating in. Could I possibly get 500 items in time? No time to doubt. Just do whatever I can now. I kept making calls, addressing the situation. I am terribly sorry. Yes, thank you very much. I kept asking them, checking for any available stock. Even if there was just one item, I drove out myself to pick it up. 71 items left. And then, the day before the event, I held the boxes filled with items tightly, said thank you sincerely. Thank you so much for this. I am truly grateful. Finally, I had managed to gather the 500th item. Somehow, I had prepared the amount planned for the event. I immediately went to deliver them to the client, but the person in charge looked down at me with eyes full of anger.
What's going on? We've had a long relationship with your company, but we've never had such an experience. I'm sorry, but we can't trust you anymore. Our business relationship is over.
The client took the products and slammed the door in my face. I slumped for a while, but then slowly made my way back to the office. I had done everything I could. But upon returning, there was John, arms crossed, looking furious, waiting for me.
You made an unbelievable mistake this time. Such repeated errors affect the company's reputation. You'll be fired. Leave now. Don't ever come back to this company.
He yelled and left the room. I trudged back to my desk, head hung low. So, I'm getting fired, huh? My mistake has caused trouble for the company. I've contributed to the company without major mistakes until now, but it seems I need to find a new job. It will be hard at my age, and without having advanced much in my career. What should I tell my wife and son when I get home? Filled with anxiety, I packed up my belongings. After the end of the workday, I apologized to my colleagues and left. I'm sorry for the inconvenience I've caused. Thanks for your hard work. I'll be leaving now. With a heavy heart and apologies, I left the offices. Using the remaining paid leave, that's all I have to do at the company. These last 3 days have been exhausting. I rotated my neck and shoulders, hearing them crack. How should I explain this to my wife and son? Will they be disappointed or give up on me as a failure? No, they'll greet me with a smile as usual. Considering my family's nature, they probably won't blame me. But that thought somehow felt even harder to bear. Hesitantly, I walked towards home, which was just around the corner. I'm home.
Welcome back. Dad.
You're late. Oh, you look pale. Did something happen?
As I held my son, who energetically jumped at me, I just nodded with a smile to my wife's question. Yeah, a little bit. I'll talk about it later.
All right, let's have dinner once you're changed.
I slowly headed to my room. My wife and son, true to my farts, welcomed me with smiles. That made it even harder to figure out what to say. Anyway, I'll talk after dinner. I braced myself and returned to the living room, where my wife and son were waiting. Let's eat.
Let's eat.
So, what happened? You seem down.
Dad, did something happen?
Their concerned voices made my heart pound. But I couldn't keep it hidden forever. Taking a deep breath, I began to speak. I'm sorry, both of you. It looks like I'll be fired from my job. Hearing my words, my wife's eyes widened in shock, speechless. But my son was the one who reacted loudly.
Awesome. Then Dad, you don't have to go to work, right?
Yes, I'll be home for a while.
Yeah. Let's go to the amusement park then. I've been wanting to go.
My son looked at me with a big grin. His unexpected reaction left me just staring back at him. Then my wife began to laugh softly.
That's a great idea. You've been so busy lately. It'll be good for you to relax. I'm happy you'll be at home with us.
Their responses left me speechless. But at the same time, I felt incredibly relieved. Really, they don't blame me for being fired. I can stay at home for a while. I realized we hadn't gone on a trip since my son grew up. I had left all the child care and housework to my wife, so maybe this time together was a good thing. I thought to myself and smiled at them. That's right. Let's go to the amusement park this weekend when school's out.
Yay! You promise, Dad.
I'm looking forward to it.
The living room is filled with my family's happy voices. What a warm dinner table it was. I felt lucky to have such happy moments. Relieved a little, I continued my meal. But the next morning, after taking paid leave, my phone suddenly rang. It was a colleague from the company. What could it be? Did I make another mistake? Feeling a bit anxious, I answered the phone. Hello, this is David.
Thank goodness, David, you're there. I'm sorry to bother you during your vacation, but can you come to the office right away?
Does this mean there's a problem?
I'm sorry, I can't discuss it over the phone, but please come back as soon as you can.
Understood. I'll be there shortly. Urged by my colleague's rushed voice, I quickly got ready. My wife looked at me curiously.
What's up? Did the office call?
Yay, they called me in. I'll go and check. I arrived at the office 40 minutes after the call. Heading to my department, a colleague hurried over to me.
David, thank goodness you're here. Please come with me quickly.
Following my colleague, as he hurriedly ran, I tilted my head in confusion. Why such a rush? What could have happened? Then, as we ran, my colleague began to explain the situation to me. According to him, the next morning after I was told fired, the CEO of the company, with a changed complexion, came to our department, visibly angry.
Why is he not here? Explain this to me.
Are you referring to David? We don't need someone like him.
John, who was there, tried to calm the CEO, but the CEO became even angrier.
What are you saying? Just call David back here.
Then, they contacted me. I was puzzled by my colleague's story, but I was told fired already. My colleague looked as confused as I was. When we arrived, the CEO and a sullen John were waiting.
Oh, David, good to have you back.
But I was told that you'll be fired. The CEO looked surprised, but then relaxed and laughed heartily.
There's no way we'd fire you. Without you, who would manage the contacts for this company?
He showed me his computer screen, displaying the order page for our products. There, I noticed a section marked with a red warning sign. Wait, this isn't right, CEO. Since the day after I took leave, it seems no orders were placed.
Well, of course, you weren't here.
Why wouldn't orders be placed if I'm not here?
Because that's a job only you can do.
The CEO then handed John a note.
John, can you place this order?
Understood.
John took the note and moved to the computer. But as he tried to enter the order, he stopped and looked puzzled.
CEO, what does this say? I can place the order unless it's in English.
Hearing John's words, the CEO began to laugh heartily, slapping his belly.
So, David, can you take the order from the memo John has?
What? No way. CEO, if I couldn't do it, there's no way David can.
Just stand up and hand the memo to David.
John, looking sullen again, reluctantly handed me the memo. As he pushed it into my hand, his glare seemed to say, "There's no way you can do it." I took the memo, sat down at the computer, and checked the order details. Then I began to enter the information as usual. This is a food product from Germany. I'm placing the order now.
Is that in English? It looks like a completely different languages.
Next up, a product from Poland.
What's this product called? I can't read it.
Despite John's interruptions, I kept entering and placing orders one after another. After entering all the products listed in the memo, I looked at the CEO. If there are any more orders, I can do them right away. Isn't it about time for our regular order with France?
Yes, it is. Hey, someone bring any order requests you have. David is back, so we can get them done quickly.
Hearing his words, several employees gathered around, bringing order requests.
David, could you handle this, please?
And this one too. We're in a rush.
As I busily entered the orders, I could hear John grumbling in the background.
Unbelievable. How can that incompetent David manage to place orders?
That's when I realized something. John didn't know about my extensive knowledge of other languages. In fact, I studied various languages during my student days. Being able to read and write in these languages has been incredibly useful in dealing with these countries. After entering all the requested orders, I thoroughly checked the product names and quantities for any errors. All good, no mistakes. Sending now. I felt relieved after completing the orders, but then noticed something strange. What's this? This computer was dedicated to placing orders, and it displayed the order history and the last update after completing the order process. To operate this computer, one had to enter their employee ID, So the name of the employee who last used it was also recorded. According to the record, the last update was on the day I was told fired. But the last updater was listed as John Scott. So that's how it was.
What's up, David?
As everything became clear, I stood up energetically. The ordering mistake the other day wasn't my error. Isn't that right, John?
What are you talking about? Your mistake got you fired.
John retorted, his face turning red. Pointing to the computer screen, I made my case.
You specialize in placing orders, John. And you just said that this incomprehensible languages could only be read by you.
You still won't admit it. Then, let me show you the proof. I quickly printed the screen and showed the printed paper to everyone present. Look here. It says the last updater was John Scott.
Well, that is.
John muttered, flustered, waving his hands, but everyone's eyes were focused on the paper I was holding. The CEO took the paper from me and stared intently at John's name. After a moment, he spoke in a grave tone.
It seems you are the one who should be leaving this company, John.
No, this must be some mistake.
John stammered, his face turning pale as he tried to make excuses. But the CEO, with a stern look, declared to him,
I will be reporting this matter to your father as well. Be prepared for the appropriate disciplinary action.
The president stared intently at John before leaving the scene. John let out a short cry and then collapsed weakly to the floor. Meanwhile, I was surrounded by my colleagues, all of them speaking to me at once.
David, we had no idea you had such a skill. Honestly, we thought you weren't competent at your job. We're truly sorry.
You didn't talk much and seemed a bit odd. Sorry about that.
Oh, don't apologize. You guys hadn't done anything wrong to me. Besides, it looks like I'll still be able to work at this company, so let's keep up the good work together. I replied lightly to my colleagues. Seeing their relieved faces made me feel relaxed and reassured. This way, I proved I hadn't made a mistake and safely returned home. When I told my wife and son that I would be returning to work, they were overjoyed. A few days later, while I was still using my paid leave, my phone rang again. It was the CEO.
Sorry to bother you during your time off. Actually, one of our clients called. They insisted me pass a message to you.
It's okay. What's up?
Well, after the mix-up with the order, the client contacted us, wondering if it really was your mistake. They remembered how diligently you'd handled our dealings in the past, and suspected there might have been a misunderstanding.
Oh, I see. I said, recalling those times. It was heartwarming to know that the client had thought so highly of our long-term relationship. The CEO continued.
I always thought it couldn't have been your mistake, but never imagined John would tamper with it. I'm really sorry about what happened. After a meeting with the higher-ups, we decided to fire him. It's only fair after what he did.
John's father was a senior executive at the parent company, but even that couldn't save him. According to the CEO, John was now job hunting at another company, but rumors of the tampering were making it difficult. After hanging up, I took a deep breath. I could get back to work as usual. With John gone, I was ready to work even harder. Seeing my renewed spirit, my wife said with a smile, "Seems like good things are happening." The next day, we went to the amusement park as promised. My family enjoyed the park, watching our son's happy face.
Dad, Mom, we can reserve priority tickets here.
Really? That's convenient. My son explained the system that allowed us to use attractions preferentially within a designated time. Watching my son, who had grown up so much without me realizing, a warm feeling filled my heart. We enjoyed the amusement park all day. Then, the day to return to work arrived. I go now, I said, leaving the house earlier than usual. The familiar commute seemed to shine differently to me that day. When I arrived at the office, I brushed off my suit and walked in slowly. Good morning.
David, good morning. Sorry to ask right when you arrive, but can you handle this?
A colleague handed me an order for Germany. Sure, leave it to me. And so, my routine at work resumed as before.